Hey, what's up, folks? Today we're talking about Survivor Series War Games. This is the PLE that's taking place this Saturday in Chicago. I'll be breaking down the matches, the storylines, and yeah, I'll be telling you who I think is going to win. So let's get into it.
Keep up!
Okay, so how am I going to do this? Let's start with the matches that I am least looking forward to, and then we'll move on to what I'm looking forward to the most, okay? There's only 5 matches on this card because Triple H doesn't want you sitting there for 5 hours watching a wrestling show. We have 2 War Games matches, which are going to be rather long. So this PLE doesn't need that many matches. 5 will be plenty enough because those War Games matches are rather lengthy, okay? So 5 is plenty. Let's start with the Intercontinental Championship bout between Gunther and The Miz. So when it comes to looking at matches, I ask myself 2 questions. Do I know who's going to win? And am I invested in the story? Do I know the outcome? And do I care about what's going on? So, do I know who's going to win between Gunther and The Miz? Yes, The Miz is going to lose. Do I care about the story? Not really. I mean, the 2 of them have done a good job with their promos of late to get folks invested and excited. The Miz talking about how he was bullied in high school and how he looked up to professional wrestlers and how they were his heroes. And then Gunther turning it around and saying, you looked up to those professional wrestlers, but they thought you were a weirdo as well, and they bullied you. Really good stuff that happened on Raw in that promo. So Gunther is the bully here, and Miz is the underdog trying to stand up to the bully that is Gunther. I think The Miz is really going to get the crowd support. I'm just not that invested in the story, unfortunately. This is very much a mini filler feud for Gunther. He's going to beat The Miz and move on to the next opponent. I'm sure this will be a good match. Gunther wins, obviously. Moving on to the Women's World Championship match between Rhea Ripley and Zoe Stark. I believe this will be Zoe Stark's first PLE singles match for the championship. This will be a good showcase for her. Rhea Ripley has been the champion since Mania, and now she has a new challenger in Zoe Stark. So, questions. Do we know the outcome? Yes, we do. Rhea Ripley will win. There's about a 0% chance that Zoe Stark beats Rhea here. Okay, Rhea Ripley will retain. Are we invested in the story here? Not really. There is no story. It's a one-off mini feud, I feel. The story here is that Zoe Stark feels that Rhea Ripley is spread too thin. She got her hands in all these boxes and she's not focused on the women's division and her title. And because Rhea Ripley isn't focused because she's dealing with Judgment Day business, Zoe Stark thinks she can take advantage and win the title. Rhea Ripley maintains that she's not looking past Zoe Stark and will defeat her in Chicago at Survivor Series. So not much to the story. This will be a showcase for Zoe Stark, similar to how Backlash was a showcase for Io Sky. After that match, the mainstream audience was sure that Io Sky was the real deal and that she would be a champion one day. The same thing can happen for Zoe Stark here. Zoe Stark is great in the ring. If she goes out there and has a banger with Rhea, everyone will come out saying Zoe Stark did her thing and she should be champion one day. So that's really what's going on here. This can be a breakout match for Zoe, a showcase for Zoe, and she can get her flowers if she puts on a good performance and loses impressively. Rhea will win, she'll hit the riptide and she'll win, but this is an opportunity for Zoe to really show her stuff, and I think she will. Zoe Stark is great in the ring. She's a great in-ring performer, so I'm looking forward to her showing up and showing out. But to be honest, there isn't much of a story to be invested in here, okay? But it should be a good one. Okay, so now let's talk about Carlito versus Santos Escobar. Do I know who's going to win? I think Santos is going to win because he just turned heel, but it's possible that Carlito may get the win. Santos attacks him after the match and gets his heat back. I don't know, but it's not as clear cut. And what about the story? Well, I think the story is very compelling. They did a good job with the setup here for Santos. They tried to get Santos over as a heel when he first arrived, but it wasn't connecting. So they made the decision to turn him face and have him join up with Ray to then ultimately turn on Ray. That was the plan from the very beginning, clearly. They wanted Santos as a heel, so the way they went about it was pair him with Ray, get him into LWO, and then have him turn on Ray, and that will get the fans invested in the Santos heel character. And it worked. He's a very effective heel. And now that they got him where they wanted him to be originally, he's going to take off because the crowd now cares and the fans at home care, like me. So I'm really interested in the post-match. Will Zelina get involved? Will the other members of the LWO get involved? I don't know. Things can happen here. Story can happen here. I'm interested in the character work here between Carlito and Santos, and I'm curious to see how that plays out. So as far as predictions go, I'll go with Santos, but I wouldn't be shocked if they gave it to Carlito and then we get some type of character moment from Santos after the match. All right, War Games. Let's talk about those War Games matches. All right, so here is my issue with War Games matches. They have no stakes. It does not matter who wins these matches. The baby faces can win, nothing changes. The heels can win, nothing changes. There is nothing on the line. Now they'll try to say things like, oh, this is a struggle for power. This is a struggle for control, but that's all bullshit. The winning team doesn't get GM power. The losing team isn't suspended, okay? These matches have no real stakes. So it doesn't matter if I know who wins or not. What matters is the storytelling. These are storytelling matches, or at least they should be. This is where the stories can progress or end or grow or start. This is the time. And right now, that is what I care about. I care about the stories heading into War Games and how they will play out. For example, last year, we had the Bloodline versus the Babyfaces, right? Who won? The Bloodline. Does it matter? No. The takeaway from last year was Jey Uso and Sami Zayn hugging. Jey Uso finally accepted Sami Zayn and they embraced. And that was what people remember, the story. That's the takeaway here. Not who wins or loses. What is the story and how is it going to push the narrative forward? Story, story, story. That is what people cared about. The story, not who won or lost, the storylines, the characters. That is what's important here in these matches. So let's talk about the ladies for a second. We have the new and improved Damage Control taking on Team Bianca or Charlotte, whatever you want to say, and it's a 4-on-4. The story here centers around Bayley. She's kind of the main character right now. She is losing control. In fact, you can argue that she's already lost control of Damage Control, and she knows it. She's not oblivious to what's going on. She can see, and it's good work from Bayley, that she is no longer controlling this group. She's lost control. She didn't know that Kyrie was joining. She didn't know that Asuka was joining. Hell, they didn't even tell her about War Games. She is out of the loop. She's aware of what's happening. They're gaslighting Bayley, but she's just in denial. She's terrified that she's losing control of the group and that the group doesn't want her anymore. Bayley is aware and she's nervous about all of this. She knows that she's kind of on the outs. She's always nervous that this is the day that they're going to kick her out and that she's not actually in the group anymore. It's written all over her face. So we're interested in the dynamic of Damage Control and how that relates to Bayley going forward. What is going to happen to Bayley? How are they going to treat her if they lose? When are they going to kick her out? Because that's coming. And how does that play into Bayley's character going forward? I think during this War Games match, the goal will be to make us feel sorry for Bayley. They're going to force her to start the match. She's going to be taking all these crazy bumps and her teammates won't care. They'll probably hit her accidentally and not care at all. God forbid she's the reason why they lose. Oh boy, it may be a rough night for Bayley. So the Damage Control side is definitely more interesting. On the babyface side, you have Shotzi, you have Becky, who's going back to Raw after this match, which is why some people didn't want her in the match to begin with. The only thing that I can see them doing is planting the seeds for Charlotte versus Bianca if that's the way they want to go heading into Mania. They can tease that feud on the babyface side. Or they could just tease Io versus Charlotte, since it appears that's the direction they're going to go, based off of that weird 20-second stare off. So yeah, not that much going on the babyface side, but the damage control angle is hot, and how that affects Bayley is what folks are going to be focused on. Again, it doesn't matter who wins this, but I'll go with damage control. They lost last year, so maybe they'll win this year. And the final match we'll be talking about today, which I'm sure will main event, is the men's War Games match. Now, I'm more excited about the men's match than I am the women's, simply because there is more storytelling going on with the men right now. Like I said, it does not matter who wins this match. What matters is the stories coming out. So what are the stories we have cooking right now? Well, we have this weird dynamic within Judgment Day where Damian Priest wants to be the leader, but Rhea Ripley is really the acting leader, and Damian Priest seems to be the only one who has a problem with it. So we have that going on where the two of them are butting heads. And then you have Drew McIntyre, who hates the Judgment Day, but is working with them because he hates Jey Uso even more. He despises Jey Uso. So Damian Priest and the Judgment Day can't really trust Drew McIntyre. So is that going to come to a head? Is Drew McIntyre going to be looking out for himself, going after Jey Uso, and will that cost them the win? So you have Damian Priest and Rhea having issues. You have the wild card of Drew McIntyre. There's a lot of different ways that can go, right? And then on the babyfaces side, you have the return of Randy Orton, which sucks for Jey because the last time we saw Randy Orton, he was taken out by Jey and the Usos. So Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre actually have something in common. They both hate Jey. So on one hand, we're happy to see Randy because it's been so long, but we don't really know how he's going to react. Can Randy be trusted by Jey and the babyfaces? Is Randy going to turn heel at the end of this match, right? There's so many ways this can play out on both sides. So those are the three big things. Damian Priest, how is he going to behave? Drew McIntyre, what is he going to do? And how is Randy Orton going to behave around Jey? Will he turn heel at the end? This is all in the realm of possibility. Again, it is all about the story when it comes to these matches. Anything can happen. It doesn't matter who wins. It doesn't matter. What matters are the stories coming out of it. Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Jey, and Damian Priest are the four characters we have to pay attention to in this match. Should be fun stuff. I'm picking the babyfaces to win. I'll go with Team Cody. I have the babyfaces winning for the men and the babyfaces losing for the women. This PLE will be the driving force for stories heading into Rumble season. So, who do you think is going to win these matches? What are your thoughts on the PLE? Let me know what you think. Who do you want to win? Who do you think is going to win? What are you excited about? Leave your thoughts in the comments, okay? Remember to like and subscribe, and I will talk to you later.
Keep up!